Hello and welcome to Brew Tapcast. I am Tap here for their Flesh and Blood short pours. Before we get into the short pour, I just want to mention our Discord. We're trying to get a bunch of people in there so we can start running tournaments and give away prizes. So if you want to join, I'd really like it. Go ahead and check out that link below. Now on to the short pour. So today is about priority. Priority is a set of rules in Flesh and Blood, as in other games, that dictate when a certain person can play cards or activate abilities. In this particular case, the turn player, the active player, the players whose turn it is, will always gain priority first. You can't play cards or activate abilities unless you have priority. And it also is given to you at the start of the action phase. So in the start of turn and the end of turn phases, there are no priority. Everything is added to the chain in a way that it is automatically passed back and forth. So there is no priority. Think of the spring tunic. That trigger says at the start of your turn, you put a thing on there. No one can respond to that. So if it's something that may be thought of as like, oh, before they get their tunic trigger, I want to make sure I do something. You can't actually respond to that. There's nothing either player can do to respond to that token going on to the tunic. So you get priority in your action phase. Once you have that, that turn player can choose to do nothing and they can pass priority. If the opposing person also passes priority, you essentially finish the turn. The turn goes to the end of phase turn, no more priority, no one can play anything, there's just those end of turn effects. Ultimately, that's not really what happens. People like to do things on their turns. So what do? Okay, the turn player will try to play a card or activate an ability. That will then go on the chain. Depending on what it is, will depend on what kind of card it is, whether it's an attack, it's an ability, anything like that. Once the card is put in the chain and the turn players pass priorities back and forth, so the person who played the card says, cool, I'm passing priority, and then the opposing hero also passes it back, that is fully resolved and we can move on to the next phase or the next part of the turn. So if it's an attack card, the attack card, boom, gets resolved. Now on a combat chain link, and then you can go sort of on with resolving the rest of the turn, again, through priority passing back and forth. Ultimately, if it's not an attack card, it just makes a normal chain. And again, things can be passed back and forth. Depending upon what happens and how many times someone chooses to respond to something going on the chain, you can have a large stack of things sort of stack up on that link. Things are resolved, again, by passing priority back and forth unless someone has to respond or wants to respond to something on the chain, is then resolved from the top down, or first in, last out. So in a lot of cases, the turn player is at a slight disadvantage because if they want something to happen, I mean, they are at an advantage and a disadvantage. Ultimately, though, if you choose to activate something, the opposing hero has a chance to respond to it in a way that they have full information. And that's something that is valuable. But at the same time, if you say, cool, here's an attack coming, and you pass priority to them, they have a chance to, say, activate a defense reaction. But then you can then put an attack reaction back on top. So there's a little bit of advantage and disadvantage to see. You have to sort of play. You don't always have to play out your whole hand, but sometimes you're, cool, I wanted to play something like an attack reaction, but then they pass priority back, and now I can't do that. So there's an advantage and disadvantage to both times. But ultimately, that's how priority works. It's really just a passing of like, hey, cool, I don't want to do anything involved with this particular chain link. How about you? And then the other opposing hero also gets to choose. And that's really it. So that's what priority is. It is a super important thing to the game. And if you don't understand it, it can become very tricky. So I hope this video helped. Again, please check out our Discord. We're looking to try to get a bunch of people in so we can give away some stuff and have some tournaments. So yeah, please check it out. The link is below. And that is all for today's short pour. So thank you very much and cheers.